You wake up, check the numbers. The account looks better than last year. The car is newer. The watch, heavier. But somehow the silence inside feels louder than ever. You were told that value could be counted, that life is a scoreboard, income, followers, square footage. They said if the line goes up, you're moving forward. But maybe you're just spinning the same wheel faster, because a man can multiply his possessions and still divide his soul. He can build an empire and still lose command of himself. He can win every external game and yet fail at the one inside. Aristotle saw this long before capitalism, long before Instagram. He asked a question we've all avoided. If the purpose of a knife is to cut well, what is the purpose of a man? He called it ergon, the function, the unique work of the soul. The knife is judged by its sharpness, not its price. The eye by its clarity, not its color. So why do we measure a man by his digits, not by his excellence? Somewhere along the line, we confused the tools of life with the purpose of life. Money became a moral language. Wealth became a proxy for wisdom. And the more zeros we chased, the further we drifted from the center that made us whole. Because when a measure becomes the goal, it corrupts what it was meant to reveal. That's Goodhart's law and Aristotle's oldest warning. Every metric once worshipped turns against its maker. He didn't ask, "What do you own?" He asked, "How well does your soul perform its work? How well do you use reason, courage, and restraint when no one is watching? How close is your action to your purpose?" That, not your salary, is the real measure of a man. So ask yourself tonight, are you richer or just louder? Successful or simply seen? Because wealth adds weight to your name, but only excellence gives it gravity. You didn't build the scale you live on. It was handed to you, polished, persuasive, and invisible. From the moment you entered a classroom, you were ranked, graded, compared. Your name was followed by a number. Later, that number became your income, your net worth, your followers. And slowly, you stopped asking who you are and started asking how much you're worth. That's the first trap. Society trains you to believe that progress is proof of virtue, that the man who earns more must somehow be more. But progress without purpose is motion without meaning. It's running on a treadmill and mistaking sweat for distance. Aristotle would have called this a perversion of purpose. He said that external goods, wealth, honor, pleasure, are means, not ends. When the means become the goal, the soul loses its direction. The appetite starts commanding the intellect, and the man becomes servant to the things he owns. But modern culture built an economy on that reversal. It turned vanity into productivity. It made comparison a marketplace. The attention economy doesn't sell products, it sells validation. Every ad, every scroll, every promotion whispers the same message. You are almost enough, if only you had more. So you chase. You sacrifice silence for signals, leisure for visibility, truth for traction. You think you're climbing, but you're only orbiting the same void. A man running laps inside his own desire. Aristotle would call this the life of pleonexia, the hunger for more than enough. He warned that it leads to the collapse of both ethics and states, because men who cannot measure themselves will try to measure the world instead. Look around. The man in the glass office with 10 cars and no rest. He isn't free. He's performing a metric that owns him. And the quiet craftsman who gives a fifth of what he earns to something beautiful. He owns little, but he owns himself. Society will always reward the louder man, but history only honors the measured one, because the illusion of progress is the easiest way to sell chains to men who think they're free. And until you change the measure, you will keep mistaking movement for meaning and calling it success. If this is your first time here, ThinkMate is where we question what others accept. That's the kind of mind we build this channel for. Subscribe if you want more. Now, back to it. When the illusion breaks, another question rises. If money isn't the measure, then what is? Aristotle answered that centuries before the first dollar was printed. He called it ergon, the function, the defining work of a thing. A knife cuts, an eye sees, a ship sails, and man reasons. Our worth, he said, is found in how well the soul performs its function, a life of reason guided by virtue. When that function operates with excellence, the soul doesn't just survive, it flourishes. He called that excellence arete, not talent, not luck. A stable character built through repetition until right action becomes instinct. We become what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is a habit, not an event. But habit alone is blind without judgment. That is why Aristotle named another virtue, phronesis, practical wisdom. It's not theory, it's precision in action. The ability to choose the right end, the right means, at the right time, in the right way. It's the compass that turns knowledge into character. And when ergon, arete, and phronesis move together, a man reaches what Aristotle called eudaimonia. Not pleasure, not success. Flourishing, the quiet harmony of a soul performing its proper work. It's when what you think, what you desire, and what you do all point in the same direction. He warned that chasing wealth or honor as ultimate goals fractures that harmony, because the soul cannot serve two masters. It must choose a hierarchy of goods, the goods of the soul above those of the body, and the body above external goods, like wealth or status. Reverse that order and you will always feel divided. Aristotle called the good life a form of inner architecture. The foundation is reason. The walls are habits. The roof is wisdom, money, comfort, reputation. They are the furniture. Useful, yes, but meaningless without a house to place them in. So when you ask what measures a man, you don't ask what he owns. You ask how well his reason governs his wants, how steady he stands when desire pulls him sideways, and how beautiful his actions remain when no one applauds. That, Aristotle would say, is the true alignment of a soul, and the first real measure of a man. Now that you understand the map, ergon, arete, phronesis, eudaimonia, the question becomes practical. How do you measure something as invisible as virtue? How do you track the growth of a soul? Aristotle believed that character leaves evidence, patterns that can be observed, logged, repeated. So what if we turned his philosophy into a system, not a sermon, a measurement? Here are 7 metrics, a modern ruler for an ancient ideal. You can score yourself week by week, not to compete, to calibrate. First, telos fit. How much of your time serves your natural function? If less than half of your week aligns with your real calling, you are living someone else's script. Freedom begins when your schedule starts to resemble your soul. Second, arete acts. Count the moments you chose the mean between extremes, courage between fear and impulse, restraint between indulgence and denial. Virtue is not what you feel, it is what you repeat under pressure. Third, phronesis score. Review your big decisions. How many balanced purpose, timing, and proportion? Wisdom is not about knowing more, it is about mistaking less. Fourth, liberality and magnificence. How you handle money reveals who handles you. Track the percentage of income or time spent on what Aristotle called the kalon, the noble, the beautiful, the worthy. Not charity for show, but contribution with discipline. Fifth, justice proportion. In every deal or relationship, ask, am I seeking equality or equity? Am I taking responsibility equal to my leverage? Justice is symmetry between power and duty. Sixth, scholi hours. How much time did you spend in purposeful leisure? Reading, writing, thinking. Leisure is not escape. It is maintenance for the mind. Without silence, reason starves. Seventh, friendship of virtue. who keeps you honest. Track the depth of your conversations, not their frequency. A single honest friend outweighs 1,000 admirers. Add your scores. Out of 35. The goal is not perfection, it is progression. To watch your alignment tighten week after week. Because what cannot be measured cannot be maintained. And what cannot be maintained slowly becomes what you regret. Let's see what the numbers look like when you put them on real lives. No moral ranking, no sainthood test, just observation. Men who lived by different rulers. Keanu Reeves, the man who could have built a brand out of himself, but didn't. He walks, rides the subway, gives quietly, disappears after the applause. His liberality is high. He gives without spectacle. His scola is high. Time for art, for stillness, for reading. He carries magnificence in restraint, not display. You rarely hear him speak about success because his life already says it. Measured by wealth, he is average. Measured by Aristotle's scale, he is near complete. Yvon Chouinard, founder of Patagonia, the climber who gave away his company to a trust that protects the planet. His telos fit is almost perfect. His business is his function. Justice, proportion, high, fair pay through his entire chain. Liberality, extreme. Profit turned into purpose. He has wealth, but wealth no longer has him. A modern craftsman in harmony with his ergon. Michael Jordan, the apex of arete in motion. Talent refined into discipline, courage and obsession balanced on the edge of excellence. Arete acts near maximum, his craft shaped by decades of repetition. Phronesis, strong under pressure, knowing when to take the shot and when to pass. Yet his shola sits lower. The man built for greatness rarely gets to rest inside it. His score would read 25 to 28, proof that mastery of one virtue can still cost the others. Elon Musk, a study in leverage, the force that amplifies everything it touches. Telos fit and phronesis high. He works inside his natural function, but justice, proportion, and scole unstable. When ambition outruns balance, arete cracks. Measured by output, he dominates. Measured by harmony, he fluctuates. Each man teaches a different truth. Reeves shows the peace of alignment. Chouinard, the freedom of purpose. Jordan, the beauty of discipline. Musk, the danger of excess. None are perfect. All are visible, and that is the point. The ruler is not to compare, but to calibrate. To remind you that the question is never who has more, but who lives closer to his function. They told you that once you had enough, you'd finally feel safe. That comfort would quiet the noise. But it never does, because what most men call enough was designed to move every time they get close. Behavioral science calls it the hedonic treadmill. You adapt to every gain until the gain feels normal. Raise your income and your baseline of happiness stays the same. Buy the bigger house and within a year it's just the place you sleep. Desire expands to fill the space it occupies. Aristotle saw that pattern long before psychologists had words for it. He warned that chasing pleasure as an end never satisfies because pleasure is a shadow of activity, not its source. It is what follows right action, not what defines it. When you reverse that order, you live in permanent hunger. Modern culture thrives on that reversal. Advertising turns appetite into identity. We scroll, compare, refresh, until envy feels like oxygen. The mind stops asking what is enough and starts asking who has more. And comparison, Aristotle said, is the seed of injustice within the soul. Because once your worth depends on someone else's number, you can never measure yourself correctly again. The result is the paradox of wealth. Richer means safer on paper, but emptier in practice. More security, less satisfaction. More control, less meaning. The man who owns the yacht still stares at the same horizon and wonders why the view doesn't feel different. Aristotle explained why. He divided life into 3 levels of good: the goods of the soul, of the body, and of the world. When you make the lowest level your highest goal, you invert the order of being, and inversion breeds anxiety. Because the soul was never meant to be fueled by what it can lose. You can't buy coherence. You can only build it through alignment, when action, virtue, and purpose aim at the same end. That is why the poor man with order sleeps better than the rich man without it, because wealth feeds comfort, but order feeds being. If money isn't the measure, then how should it move? Aristotle never hated wealth. He only warned what happens when wealth stops being a tool and starts being a title. He drew 2 virtues for that tension: liberality and magnificence. Liberality is the virtue of giving and taking the right amount, in the right way, for the right reasons. It's not about minimalism or excess, it's proportion. The generous man gives where it matters, spends where it builds, and holds where it protects. He doesn't chase credit, and he doesn't hoard fear. He simply treats money as energy, something that should circulate through the good, not collect in the dark. Magnificence is different. It's the art of using wealth on a larger scale, investing in what uplifts beauty, community, or knowledge, to build a library, to restore a theater, to fund a school, to make something lasting enough to outlive the hand that gave it. Magnificence is not display, it's direction. It turns fortune into foundation. Both virtues share a rule. The measure of giving must match the context of your life. Too little and you shrink the good you could have done. Too much and you serve vanity instead of value. Virtue, Aristotle said, always lives in the mean between extremes. The coward gives nothing. The fool gives for applause. The virtuous man gives because it's fitting. So here's a test. Each quarter, set aside 1 to 5% of your income or time for what he called the kalon, the noble, the worthy, the beautifully good. Fund one thing that would still make sense, even if no one thanked you. That small discipline turns generosity into governance. It's not charity, it's calibration, because the goal is not to fear money or to worship it. The goal is to rule it, so that what flows through your hands becomes proof of what lives in your soul. When you use money rightly, it stops being noise and starts being language. And every dollar spent toward the kalon says something clear. This man remembers what wealth was meant to serve. After Aristotle spoke about money, he moved to something harder to measure: fairness. Because wealth may reveal how we use power, but justice reveals how we value proportion. He called justice the complete virtue, not one quality among others, but the harmony that keeps them all in balance. And within it, he saw 2 kinds: distributive justice and equity. Distributive justice means giving each man his due, not equally, but proportionally. To the brave, more honor. To the skilled, more responsibility. To the wise, more trust. Equality, in the mathematical sense, can be cruelty in disguise. Because when you give the same to the unequal, you build resentment instead of order. Aristotle's world was built on proportion, to kata axion, according to worth. Not the worth of birth, but of contribution, effort, and risk. In a fair system, reward tracks responsibility. That is why injustice begins the moment one man takes the reward of another's risk. Then comes equity, epieikeia. Equity is mercy inside precision. It bends the letter of law to serve the spirit of justice when the rule alone would wound the right. Laws can't predict every circumstance. Equity is the judgment that keeps justice human. It asks not only what was written, but what is fitting. So how do we measure that today? By examining how we price our exchanges: money, time, credit, emotion. In every negotiation, write down 4 variables: responsibility, risk, leverage, and outcome. Then test your ratio. If your reward outweighs your risk, you're taking more than your share. If you shoulder more weight than you're paid for, you're shrinking your own value. Justice in practice is calibration, aligning what you give, what you take, and what you risk. The modern world confuses sameness with fairness, but sameness ignores context. Justice honors it, because balance is not everyone having the same. It's each having what is due. So before you call something unfair, ask yourself first, do you want equality or proportion? Because only one of them builds a world that can last. You can measure justice in action, but the next virtue can only be measured in stillness. Aristotle called it schola, leisure, not entertainment, not escape. Leisure to him was the space where a man returns to his mind. It is not time off, it is time on for the soul. The modern world despises silence. We fill every pause with noise, every wait with a screen, every evening with distraction. We have turned rest into recovery instead of reflection. But Aristotle believed that leisure is not the reward for work, it is the reason for it. You work to buy the space to think. He tied scholae to theoria, contemplation, to look, to study, to understand the order of things. He called it the highest activity of the human soul because it requires nothing beyond itself. Thinking well is not for profit, it is for fulfillment. In contemplation, the mind stops chasing and starts seeing. So, how do you measure leisure? By the hours of purposeful silence you can stand before reaching for distraction, by how often you feed your intellect instead of your appetite, by the moments where your mind feels full, even when your schedule is empty. Most men today are terrified of that emptiness. They call it boredom, but Aristotle would call it unreadiness, because until you can be alone with your own reason, you will always need noise to prove you exist. He wrote that no one can live the good life without scholae. The statesman needs it to think beyond the next law, the builder to design beyond the next project, the ordinary man to remember he is more than his output. Here's a test. Each week, claim 2 blocks of 90 minutes, no devices, no stimulation, just reading, writing, or reflection. That small act, repeated, restores the architecture of your reason, because a man who cannot stop cannot steer, and a mind that never rests never rules. So stop thinking of leisure as a break from life. It is life reclaimed from the noise that keeps you from it. Power is only dangerous when it forgets its direction. Leverage by itself is nothing. It is the ability to move more than your own hands could, the force that multiplies intent. And like every force, it will magnify whatever stands before it. If you are ordered, it builds order. If you are lost, it builds destruction. The question has never been how much leverage you hold. The real question is what purpose it serves. Aristotle understood this long before the word existed. He said that every art begins with an end in mind. The carpenter imagines the table before lifting the wood. The archer sees the target before drawing the bow. Without that vision, strength is wasted in noise. That is why the sequence matters. First comes telos, the purpose worth pursuing. Then comes arete, the excellence that keeps the pursuit clean. Only then comes leverage, the instrument that extends the reach of virtue. Reverse that order and the tool will own the maker. Modern culture reversed it completely. We start with the tool. We ask what the technology can do before we ask whether it should. We measure efficiency before meaning. We scale before sense. We build faster than we learn why. And then we wonder why the world feels louder but not larger. Aristotle would have called this imbalance pleonexia, the appetite for more than enough. When force outruns virtue, power becomes a disease. You can see it everywhere. Money without morality, influence without discipline, innovation without reflection. The leverage works perfectly, but the user falls apart. Telos gives direction, arete gives structure, leverage gives reach. Together they create proportion, the architecture of meaningful action. Break that order, and every gain becomes self-defeating. Every man carries a form of leverage. For some, it is capital. For others, skill, persuasion, or code. The tool changes, the danger does not. So before you use yours, stop and ask 3 questions. Does this tool serve my purpose? Does this action express my best discipline? Does this power deserve to be multiplied? If any answer is no, stop moving, because leverage multiplies truth or error without caring which one you choose. Fire does not decide whether to cook or to burn. That choice belongs to the man who lights it. And in the same way, leverage is never moral or immoral. It simply waits for a soul with order. The greater the leverage, the deeper that order must run. And that, Aristotle would say, is the only safe way to move the world. Philosophy means nothing until it reaches your calendar. Theory becomes real only when it reshapes your routine. So here is a simple experiment. 7 days, 7 measures. A small mirror held up to your week. Each day is one practice, one correction of measure, one step from noise to alignment. Day 1, telos audit. Write down 10 moments in your life when you felt fully alive, when effort felt effortless. Look for the pattern. Circle 3 that repeat. They are signals of your natural function. Plan your next week to include at least one of them. Freedom begins when your schedule starts to resemble your purpose. Day 2, Phronesis log. At the end of the day, write one decision you faced and how you made it. Ask whether you chose the right end, the right time, the right scale, the right person, and the right way. The goal is not judgment, it is awareness. A wise life is built on hundreds of small remembered decisions. Day 3, Arete acts. Choose one moment you usually overreact or avoid. This time, hold the middle. Courage between fear and impulse. Restraint between indulgence and denial. Repeat once a day until virtue becomes reflex. Day 4, Kalon Fund. Take 1 to 5% of what you earn or of your available hours and give it to something noble. Not for charity, for calibration. The purpose is not to feel generous but to prove control. You command what you can release. Day 5, Justice Sheet. In one deal or exchange this week, calculate the ratio between responsibility, risk, leverage, and outcome. If your reward exceeds your risk, rebalance. If your effort exceeds your return, revalue. Justice is not a feeling, it is proportion made visible. Day 6, Scully block. Reserve 2 blocks of 90 minutes with no screens, no stimulation, no goals. Read, write, think, or sit. Leisure is not the absence of work, it is the presence of mind. Day 7, Friend of Virtue. Invite one person into honest conversation. No flattery, no branding. Ask them what they see in you that you avoid. Correction hurts less than decay. 7 days, 7 small disciplines. At the end, review your notes. Do not grade yourself. Look for direction. The measure of a man is not how perfect his week looks, but how clearly he sees where he stands. The purpose of this challenge is not improvement. It is awakening. Because once you can measure what matters, you will never mistake movement for growth again. Every system faces resistance. Even truth sounds offensive when it breaks comfort. So before we end, let's answer the 3 questions that always return. First, what about money? Doesn't Aristotle live in a world before mortgages, inflation, and debt? He did. But he never denied the need for external goods. He only warned against turning them into gods. Money is necessary, like oxygen, but only to breathe. It cannot tell you why you live. He compared wealth to fuel. A car needs gas to move, but the purpose of driving is not to fill the tank. Money supports the function. It is never the function itself. Use it, do not kneel to it. Second, virtue sounds vague. How can you measure it? Aristotle would say, you measure it the same way you measure skill, by stability under pressure. A good musician does not play one right note by luck. He plays right notes consistently no matter the stage. Virtue is the same. It is the ability to act rightly without supervision. That is why the 7 measures exist. Habits leave data. Decisions leave patterns. Over weeks and months, virtue draws its own graph. You can track what you once only admired. Third, isn't this judgmental? Isn't measuring others' arrogance? No. The purpose of the measure is not comparison. It is calibration. You are not grading souls. You are aligning your own. And when you use the same ruler on yourself that you wish the world used on everyone, you begin to build proportion, not pride. That is how a society repairs itself. One honest audit at a time. Now, the coda. For most of your life, you were told to chase numbers, to count progress in digits and decimals. But those numbers were never yours. They belong to someone else's system. The real measure begins inside. How you think when no one sees you, how you act when no one rewards you, how you spend what no one can refund, your time. So tonight, forget the scoreboard, forget the rank, forget who seems ahead. Ask only this: how well did I use my function today? How steady was my reason against my desire? How close did I come to what I was built to be? That is the measure of a man. And once you know it, the world can no longer sell you a smaller one. If this made you see the world a little clearer, stay. Think deeper. This is ThinkMate.